Welcome to the Crimeycade podcast. I am the mad conservative crime fighter back for another week of talking gaming and giving attention to gamers that you never ever hear from. We're just about almost to the holiday season, and have a few drinks. Now get off work, have a few drinks, and then just kind of loosen up and hear about stuff that might go down. And I gotta get in rhythm here. Anyway, I do want to note that I am trying to get my Facebook page to the 100 follower mark so I can co-stream on Facebook besides Twitch. And I do have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Crimeycade. I made considerable progress yesterday in getting a new podcast or getting new Facebook followers. And because it's been stagnating, about 30 people had been following the page previously. Now it's over the 50 mark. Now I need to get it over 70 and get it much closer to that 100 user threshold so I can co-stream on Facebook besides Twitch. And I need to get it on Facebook because, Twitch has been having its problems. There's been chatter about it being in major trouble with advertisers, and the people who streamed on Twitch, making money on Twitch, are seeing their revenue numbers go way down. So it's best to split up the services that you stream on, so the audience has an easier time following you from platform to platform. Now they say, well, stream on YouTube. Well, the replays stream on YouTube. And I haven't done live streams on YouTube yet for a reason. So, if you can follow my Facebook page at Crimeycade, help me get to the 100 follower mark. That would be awesome. Anyway, new high scores for coming out at the Galvin Ghost, and I'm going to be heading back up there this weekend. Been needing to go back up there for quite some time because I got a challenge card to fill out. I got 4 games left, and a couple of the games were not working the last time I was there. It's been over a month. So, going to be heading back up to the Galvin Ghost Arcade this weekend for 3 days. I'll be trying to clear out my challenge card and also be doing the best of 7 challenge with one former or gamer of the decade of the 20 teens, Jimbo Slice James White. Best of 7. Blind draw, 7 games. 7 games. And whoever gets the 4 first is the winner. This last week, Andrew Owasco still is trying to get to 200 scores. 200 scores. Can he do it? Can Andrew Owasco, 2-time Gamer of the Year, get to the 200 score mark? Literally 1/5 of all the games that are on the arcade floor at Galvin Ghost Arcade. He's only 2 away. He took the house high on Gladiator in 1984, Seafire Poseidon, and as of today, Wrestle War. New house highs. King Ken Blackman took the house high and, actually extended his world record on Fozon, breaking 570. Also, Zagopian, of course, had pole position 2, the Suzuka track. The house high on that. And the long missing Jamie Tibbetts Took the high on Air Gallant, 2.2 million points on that one. And the chase for tokens. Andrew Owasco has surpassed the 9,400 mark on number of tokens. Also notable, Mossy Segopian has surpassed the 7,000 number on tokens. I'm hoping this weekend that I move past one JB Tibbetts for the third place slot. We'll see. And power rankings, because the score got taken from Zurst by Andrew, I have finally backed into the top 10. They also corrected the issue with World of Worlds being counted twice, 2 different tracks on that. Those 2 tracks have been merged. So now this is a little more accurate. Top 10, Andrew Owasco just 2 scores away from the magic number of 200. And a little bit of swapping around. Mossy's, Blackie, Liming are going to be kind of bouncing back and forth, as is 7th and 8th place. I'm just trying to move up. So we'll see what happens. And Arcade Wars, the game of the month is Arkanoid. I'm going to put my score in, see how well I can do. As of right now, well, this is not quite accurate because this has been updated. Actually, Garcade, Jim Patzer put in a score, so they're in the lead. I thought I updated this, but apparently not. But the Garcade is leading this thing right now. Trust me on that one. Despite what Mossy Segopian got, they only have 2 scores in, but the Garcade has 3 scores in, thanks to Jim Patzer. And our guest tonight represents the Atomic Pinball Arcade. They're open for 3 days a week as of now. Wednesdays, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And Fridays, 5 to 11. And then Saturdays, noon to 11 p.m. I've been down there for quite some time, but gosh, it's been a while since I've been down there, but I plan to go back at some point fairly soon, because the last time I was there, they had a lot fewer games, but the most recent video I looked at, they're filling that place up, and the basement was didn't have much down there, but now it is full. We'll look at that video as we go along. But our guest tonight is a pinball wizard. He's one of the owners of Atomic Pinball Arcade, and he's much better than pinball than me. He is one Chuck Sanderson.
Hey,
welcome in.
What's happening?
Oh.
We can get you. We can get you to 100 followers by the weekend. I bet.
I hope so.
Yeah. We'll get over to the Facebook page, and I mean, geez, 100. That's it.
That's it. And right now I'm sitting on 54 as of the last time I looked.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Jeez. So you go to Galloping Ghost this weekend, huh?
Yes.
3 days.
Well, I have the year pass. I buy a year-to-year pass. So
heck yeah. Yeah, I was just at the Chicago Expo back in October, and I got to make my 2-hour run over there. So
that was on my list to ask you. The Pinball Expo. We just had the 40th anniversary of it.
Yeah. Quite a show. New management the last couple of years, so it's been really sweet. Lots of games to pick from. Best ever, really.
I was kind of tied to a vendor table for first time. I was hanging out with Paul Zimmerman. He was doing a virtual pinball tournament. I placed
third.
What did I get? Third.
Hey, well, can't win them all, right?
Uh, no, I can't win them all, but I certainly.
Was it a homebrew table or?
He bought some sort of commercial virtual pinball series of tables I believe he played these on the Nintendo Switch.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of Williams titles and stuff like that. So real games.
Yes, and a couple homebrews. Well, for the harder stuff, for the playoffs.
Good time.
Yes. Although now, because I was tied to a vendor table, I didn't get to play as much pinball as I wanted to.
Well, you got to make up your mind sometime at those shows, work or play.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that next year, but I wanted to sell my crap. And, there's pinball. There's also the classic gaming consoles and arcade games. There's vendors for that too. And I would like to have attended a few of those seminars, but I couldn't. But
yeah, we got the joy of seeing the Henkin, the pinball manufacturer out of Australia that produced 6 games. They spent a ton of money getting 6 of the best examples they could back here to the States for the 40th Expo. And it was really amazing to see those games and to hear the stories of a pinball manufacturer that struggled in Australia. We actually own one of them. We have the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Henkin. Was restored. I mean, there aren't a lot of parts, there aren't a lot of boards, a lot of knowledge out there about the games themselves, but we're happy to have one here, and it's cool to see. It's not the greatest game in the world, but as you see behind me, the line of brand new Stern pinball machines that we have here at Atomic Pinball. Currently 125 games. You're going to show some pictures. I mean, we just filled up the basement. We just put 5 more classics down there. Moon Patrol, Dig Dug, Mario Brothers, Popeye.
I might as well pull this up then. So I just did a quick search on YouTube, and this was posted a week ago. And you're in this video.
Well, why not?
I got to do a quick check. Who was the author? Because I did not write that down.
So basically, yeah. I mean, when you come in the front doors, you pay $10 for an hour or $20 for 4 hours, and you get to come in this huge place, and everything's on free play. You bring your own drinks and food, and all I sell is fun. So 125 pinball machines. Everything on the floor is working. If it ain't, we pull it and we put something in. It is. This is stuff I've collected over the last 25 years. And, of course, new games come out, and we have to make room for, for the new stuff. So, we do sell a game from time to time. Try not to store them anymore. It's kind of like hoarding,
Yeah.
Share the hobby. Well, there I am.
Yeah.
God, look at that bald spot. Man, we're getting old, aren't we?
You know why I put this beanie on my head because.
Well, I think I need to get a beanie. So, yeah. So this is just room 1 here.
I have a few of these too, but I need to get I need to get every color of the rainbow of it.
Now, we just had a tournament this weekend. We had 124 players show up from all over the country. We had 4 of the top 10 players in the world play here for the Winter Bash. It was our 6th one, and it was a real big success. It was really busy. It was a 2-day event, qualifying on Saturday and then playoffs on Sunday. Zach McCarthy won it.
Where's he rank?
Number 1
in the world.
Yeah,
he's the greatest pinballer there ever was.
Well, I mean, based on points over the average for the last year and a half, 2 years. Yeah, young man. Did a great job. So now we're walking into some of the new stuff I just got in. I just got a couple of these ski balls, pack balls, got the Jurassic Park shooting game. I just traded for the Star Wars Battle Pod.
Yeah.
Hell, it almost sounds like I made this video. Couple Cruising USAs. We traded for this Pac-Man. I'm not crazy about Pac-Man, but 4-player Pac-Man is just fun. You eat each other. You know, a lot of fun. So we were streaming that day on with Fox City Pinball on Twitch.
And that was the author of this video, Fox City Pinball.
Yep. Really good dude. If you ever get a chance to pop over and watch some of the tournaments, you can see some really crazy pinball.
Now, are they on Twitch or YouTube?
Twitch.
They are on Twitch, so I'm going to have to follow them and make sure that if I ever have to, if they're streaming, I need to have them as an option to raid.
They are, they are exquisite. So basically, this is the old bar area next door. This used to be a Knights of Columbus Hall. So this was the bar area, and we put a lot of money and time in this building to make it as nice as it is. So it's got another room full of pinballs. There was the downstairs there. I don't know if he's going to go downstairs. He's more of a.
He will.
Okay, he's more of a pinball guy.
I know this room back here used to have all the arcade games in it. And so things got rearranged since the last time I've been in.
We moved out a lot of stuff to make room for more pinballs for this.
There's the arcades.
Yeah, there's a few. Yep. We just bought an X-Men 2-player. We have a couple more games we're going to be putting in. There's our Frogger and our Star Wars.
When you say X-Men, the fighting game?
Fighting game, yep. X-Men.
Okay. Children of the Atom?
Boy, I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry.
I mean, I asked that because I have that one in my little Crimeycade, the garage.
So we've got, slowly building up for us. We need to buy machines at work. We're not real good technically on working on them. We don't have monitors laying around. So, we've bought video games from people that work great in their basement, but once you turn them on commercially for 30 hours in a week, sometimes they only last 2 weeks. So this is the change we made to the basement. I don't think you saw this last time you were here.
No, there wasn't much in the basement at the time.
Yeah. So, we're hoping to get about another 15 or so cabinet games in here. Get rid of the cocktails. They're taking up too much room.
Yeah.
Try to go dedicated only. I have a Robotron I'm trying to get fixed. That's my favorite video game. But this is the stuff that we've added, a Scramble.
Well, for some reason he claims you don't see a Scramble too often. Well, I've seen plenty of them.
Dig Dug, Burger Time, Popeye, Moon Patrol. There's one of our virtual pins there. So that's a homemade Cubert right there. Got the tapper on the end. But yeah, we're hoping to get some more video games in there. I mean, as a youth, I spent all my time in the arcade, every penny I had. I never got good at anything. So as I got older and my funds became less, I found pinball. $1, 3 games, $1 beer at the bowling alley, maybe find a couple working games. But my love for the video is always still there.
Our Blazeman asks 125 different pinball games. Do you have the newest X-Men Stern pinball machine?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we never miss out on the new one. A friend of mine's a distributor, Tilt Amusement, out of Decatur.
Yeah.
He makes it a point that I get one of the first games off the line to have it here. So.
And Pinball Expo did introduce some new pinballs.
Yeah, pinballs are kind of like breweries. There's a lot of mini breweries popping up making beers, and the same with pinball. So in the last, I guess 10 years, we've had Spooky Pinball. You've had
American
Pinball. Yep, sorry, American Pinball. Jersey Jack, of course. But you have some homebrew stuff coming out, and it's really cool. I saw the Alice in Wonderland in Chicago. Did you see that?
Yes, and I did not get to touch it. There was a few I couldn't get to touch because there was that humongous line.
Yeah, well, you had to get back to the booth, right? Somebody's got to sell your wares.
Unfortunately, yes. I was lucky to play ABBA and the new Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar.
I did get to play X-Men, the new pinball, X-Men pinball with Stern. I don't know if Jersey Jack got a new pin out or not?
No, they're still riding on Elton John, which is a really good game.
Elton John, yeah, and John Wick. That I believe
Stern.
that's a Stern one.
Yeah, I've got that one right here. So we just got the new Metallica in. It is.
I didn't get play on that one. I know they had Metallica for the longest time.
Yeah, they redid it. So they've added the new screen, and now you have the Insider Connect on it, so you can compete all around the country. Really cool. They just announced today they're going to be vaulting some games, so they're not going to be making some of the old titles. So if you want some of those old titles, it's now it's time to get them.
He did say, excellent to hear that you got the X-Men. So you went up to Pinball Expo. Kind of give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts of the Pinball Expo this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going for about. I started collecting in 2001, and I've gone to every expo since. They have Rob Burke is now a full-fledged owner. He was about 50% owner for many of the years, but he's full-fledged owner now. He owns Pastime Arcade in Ohio. I think Girard, Ohio, 300 pinball machines.
Yeah.
Kind of the same deal, $20 admission. But he did a heck of a job. He brings his own games in, has his own techs. Games were working. And Stern does a great job. I mean, they bring in, 60 Sterns, along with the vendor tilt. They set all these things up, and they're on free play for the admission price. And, of course, you had all the new games like you spoke of, the ABBA and the Avatar. And, there's just a ton of stuff to play. And they had a free play area with some of the Hankin games from Australia in there, a lot of electromechanics.
Yes.
I spent most of my time over in the competitive area, the play booth, but I did spend quite a bit of time in the free play area. Pardon me. But great show. I mean, it was just well thought out. It was well placed. They have a section for homebrew pinballs.
Yeah.
People who are making their own pinball machines. And
did you get a chance to play Killer Comet?
I did not.
I seem to be the only one who knows that game.
Killer Comet. It was a homebrew.
No, it is an arcade game, but it has the cabinet, but it was by Game Plan.
Okay.
And they were based out of Chicago, and they did, I guess they licensed some games like King and Balloon from Namco.
Got it.
But they had Killer Comets, basically. They had Mega Attack. Like Challenger was another one.
They kind of got him just stuck on the wall over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did get to play the Asteroids, the new Asteroids I have out.
Yes.
And that was a blast. And from talking to those guys, I mean, that's an $8,000 price tag for a 2-player Asteroids with a lot of cool features. I'd like to buy one, but they say they're going to redo like Joust and a couple of the other classics. And if they could get 4 different games on that one system, I'd pay 10. I'd pay $10,000 to have it here in the arcade.
They also had I guess somebody is going for the world record in largest pinball machine ever, and they had construction in progress on a table called Mothership.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's not done, but when it's finished, it's supposed to be bigger than Hercules.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're going to have one, you might as well go big.
I guess so.
Go big or go home.
Although I do not believe it's bigger than, because there was a game show in the 70s where they had this humongous pinball table.
Well, sadly, I'm old enough, and I think I remember it, but I couldn't place it either.
I know it's on YouTube, just one episode. I'd have to go digging for it, but to get the title. But yeah, it's like, holy cow. So let's dig into it here. Originally, before Atomic Pinball, there was CP Pinball.
Correct.
And I never got over to South Roxana to check out the place, although it was only open on Saturdays, I believe.
We started out with the same hours: Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I had 3 buildings, 1,000 square foot apiece. We had them crammed full, about 75 pinball machines, around 10 video game cabinets. Same pricing, same rules, but
I guess the origin. I guess tell me the origins of how this place opened up,
yeah. So
been conceived.
yeah. Well, I mean, 2001, I bought my first pinball machine, and that was a Hurricane. And then I was able to get a Fishtails pinball machine, and I bought a Star Wars Episode 1, and 3 became 6, became 9. I met some guys around St. Louis that were re-importing pinballs from Italy, because pinball was basically dead here in the States and it was dead over in Europe. So we could get a game shipped over here for $600. Twilight Zone, Addams Family, Junkyard. I mean, any $4,000 to $8,000 pinball machine now was $600 to $800 back then. Of course, you had to fix them. They didn't have any standard bolts or nuts or fuses. I mean, it was in Europe. It was all metric. So things were hacked up. They were goofed up. But luckily, with help of the pinball community and people hungry to make money. I mean, those are the guys that brought the hobby back. I hate to say it, but guys that wanted to make a buck and got stuff fixed. So I was able to get many, many games. So by the time I got around 30, I decided to move them to South Roxana in the old post office. I bought the building and the property, filled one building up, opened up the business, filled the second building up, got busier, opened the third building up. And that took about 10 years. And then pinball exploded, let's say 2015, 16. And there were many, many places to play pinball now. So my business started to dwell a little bit. I was getting older. I kind of wanted to step back. It's tough when you make a hobby into a business.
Right.
And then about a year and a half ago, a guy came to me and said, came to me about a year and a half ago and said he wanted to know what he could do to help at the arcade. He wanted to see us stay open and do well. And I asked him if he wanted to work the door. He said no. And I said, do you want to spend the next 10 years learning how to fix pinball machines for me? He goes, no. And then I foolishly said, do you want to give me $500,000 and we'll buy a new building and move it? And he said, I could do that. So we basically put up almost $1 million for this new building that we're in, 10,000 square foot, bought another $400,000 worth of equipment and, getting new stuff all the time. Have the 3 days a week we're open, and I mean we're not making money here. This is a hobby,
right?
I mean we have $1.2 million worth of equipment here, so for the small fee you get to come in, play the stuff. Hopefully we can keep it, but it's great because it's a collection, it's a store of wealth, and we get to share our hobby with everyone. And if I could make money at it, I would, but I don't want to have employees. I don't want to have a kitchen. I don't want to have a liquor license. I just want to, like I say, sell fun.
Yes.
Yeah. We opened up in 2008 at CP Pinball, and we've been open here at the new Atomic Arcade for a year and about 6 months. And it's like going from a trailer park to a 4-bedroom home. I mean, it is just very, very nice. You've been here. You've seen it.
Yes. How
State
many
of the
games
art.
are we up to?
Well, I mean, I got 125 pinball machines I can fit on the floor. I've got another 6 in the back that I can move in and out. Probably have another 20 in storage. Probably about 15 video games in storage, mostly that are all broke. That was the problem, is when we opened up this place, I tried to expand my arcade and bought a bunch of these machines that I told you worked great in a guy's basement for 30 years. But once we had them on for 30 hours, they were just toast. And some of these games, you can replace the LCD screen in them and you can do some of that stuff. But if the boards burn up or it's a Tempest with a special screen, there's just
Vector monitor.
There just aren't guys out there to fix that stuff. There's just, if there was money in it, people would do it. So, there's
some out there. There's some out there. It's just hooking up with the right person.
Yeah, it's not like it was in pinball. There was just so many guys, and you hate to see somebody get in a hobby just for the money, but everybody I know that got into it just for the money fell in love with the game. And I think the same could be said about video games. It's just a shame all the stuff that I had access to back in 2001, 2002. Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
I mean, back then, prices for stuff.
They were nuts. They were cheap.
Yes.
I could buy any video game cabinet. I mean, the highest price game out there was a Miss Pac-Man, and it was maybe $700. Donkey Kong's $500. Everything else was $300, $400.
Or even less than that, less than $100, because there's like people were dumping arcade games because they had all these warehouses full, and it's like, well, the video game arcade scene's not what it was. People are going to playing the consoles now. They're not going to the arcade, throwing their quarters down the slot. So we need to get rid of all these machines in them.
Yeah,
it's like the video game crash at '84. And then I don't know when the last crash happened, but
well, I know guys that have bought out a lot of vendors. Gambling in the States have become very popular, and these routes are worth these routes are worth money. So a guy in a small town who's been vending there for years now is approached by another vendor that says, "Hey, how about I give you $1 million for your territory?" And the guy's like, "Hell, I haven't made $1 million in 10 years." Sure. So he sells him his territory. They put the gambling machines in the bars and the bowling alleys and the restaurants.
Yeah.
They sell off their warehouses, and the guys that buy the warehouses, I mean, if they're smart enough, I mean, they call somebody to come get the video games. And I've seen guys score a large amount of video games this way, 50 to 100 to 150 games buying out a vendor. And I think a lot of that is just done now.
Yeah, Galvin Ghost was fortunate to get above 1,000 games on the floor, and Rob Burke has got like 700 or 600 games on his floor.
Yeah,
that's combined pinball and arcade. Fun Spot, of course, I guess was always stocked. Even early 2000, they were the largest arcade in the country.
Yeah. Well, Rob Burke was fortunate enough. I mean, he's been collecting for a long time, and I mean, he bought a lot of stuff. And he was just a successful businessman, apparently. So he had some extra money to put into it. Sadly, every pinball I bought, I worked extra hard for, saved, squandered, fixed 5 or 6 pinball machines to make $400 to be able to buy the $2,000 pinball machine. And it took a long time to build a collection.
Now it's like you're forking over five digits for a pinball now.
Yeah, it's nuts. It is.
Although there's been some, I have this on my sheet here. I don't know. Maybe I should bring it up now. There's been chatter that pinball prices are going to plunge, and I believe, I'm not sure. Actually, it was American Pinball cut their prices by a couple $1,000s. I don't know if it's just to arcades owners only, or if that's for everybody.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. Again, just being having a regular job, I just don't get a lot of time to spend on the gossip or the forums, as much as I used to, and then having to come to this place and fix stuff. And, day to days, I have some guys that help us out. We're almost strictly a volunteer organization. So, I mean, it takes a lot to empty the trash and sweep the floor. So as far as as far as American Pinball goes, I mean, they've done a good job, but they've just got a little hitch in their step. Their games just desire a little bit more. I have the Hot Wheels, which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a Galactic Tank Force, but it really wasn't usable for us in tournaments. And I really need games that I can use in tournaments and leagues. It wasn't a bad game. It was actually a very fun game. But it had a few ball lock issues and a few balls that flew off ramps. And, you need things to be perfect. That's the great thing about a video game. I love video games because I buy them, I plug them in, they work, they do what they're supposed to do, and I'm done. And hopefully the monitor lasts or the power supply. So it's always a joy to get another video game for me.
Although Doc Mack would let's say complain or point out that people are exploiting glitches for extra points or just plain going after people who are violating the spirit of the game.
Yeah, well,
point pressing or gouging or what was he? Leeching.
Yeah, no, we actually had a tournament event this weekend where we saw a guy score an incredible score on Munster's pinball machine to put up over $1 billion on it. That's 3 balls with no extra balls, and
right.
he basically was starting a mode over and over. It was called Chattering Teeth, and he was building up this bonus and just exploiting it. And that's his job as a pinball player. You know, he knew something more than somebody else. However, that video will be taken and will be given to Stern Pinball, and maybe the code designers can take that out. And that does happen in pinball because the competitive side of pinball has just gotten so huge. The amount of players that are playing, the tournaments that are held, and what it means to be ranked. Currently I'm like 25th in Illinois. I should be making the state finals at the end of the year. But every state has their own listings and IFPA numbers and rulings and ranks. And, people are playing for the world championship. And I think there's some money involved. So it's a great way to see the explosion of it and having all these pinball machines here and being able to do that while also having all the extra video games here so people can, remember yesteryear.
So how did you get hooked on pinball?
Well, as a kids, we grew up in the 70s. There was a thing called a returnable bottle. It was worth a nickel.
Mm-hmm.
You could pick them up in the trash. You could find them in the park, or you could steal them off your neighbor's porch. And if you got 5 of them, you got a quarter. And back then, a quarter would buy you a candy bar, full size, and a slushie. Another quarter would buy you 2 games of pinball. So started playing pinball. Well, then the 80s hit. I actually had a job as a kid selling newspaper subscriptions, door to door. 12, 13 years old. I was making $200 a week. That was a lot of money in 1981. I spent every dollar of it at the arcade. Knight's Amusement was in Hazelwood, Missouri, in the Village Square Shopping Center. I had a lot of friends back then too, because we were paying for all the arcade stuff. But had a blast, and then I got older. Got a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken for $3.35 an hour, a job at Kmart for $4.15, trying to put myself through college. Got out, got a job, was broke, married. My wife worked nights, and there was a bowling alley down the street. They had beer for $1. I had a couple extra bucks, and like I said earlier, I found pinball again. 3 plays for $1, Dracula from Williams, Addams Family. And I said, hey, I want to buy a pinball machine. So I went to a super auctions, met some people there that I had recognized their faces from my tool store. And they said, don't buy a pinball machine here. It'll be broke. You won't be able to fix it. So I bought my first game, Hurricane, for $800 in 2001. I bought a Fishtails after that and, just grew from there and started to learn the rules of the game, how to play. I thought I was a great pinball player until I went to my first exhibition in like 2004 or 5 and, got my butt handed to me by 9-year-olds. And
9-year-olds.
Yeah.
Wow.
And those 9-year-olds are now world champs and, great pinball players. They put a lot of time and energy in it, but there's a lot to it. I mean, it is crazy to watch somebody just go at a pinball machine.
Although the Sharp brothers seem to dominate the Pinball Expo pinball tournament, the big one.
Yeah, not
every
anymore.
year.
Not anymore.
Somebody beat them?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Every year. I think the one of the Sharps placed within the top 4 here, did very well, but he's playing against us schleps, Southern Illinois schleps. So, in Chicago, it's fierce. People come from all over the country.
All over the world, basically.
Yeah. I see a player from Japan there wearing his kimono and, having a great time playing pinball.
Do you happen to remember the first pinball machine you ever played? Or at least the one you really got into?
The first one I played, it was a host of, basically back in the 70s, they made the same machine. 3 pop bumpers, 2 banks of drop targets, 2 flippers, and they just gave it a different name, Royal Flush or, a sports theme. But I mean, really, the first game that I fell in love with was Fishtails. I figured out the rules: hit the ramp 6 times, light super jackpot, hit super jackpot, lock 3 balls, hit all 3 jackpots, go to the wizard mode. I found out what a wizard mode was. That's the culmination of all the modes together. And then from there, it just, became a love. And then by 2000, there were no pinball machine manufacturers around. Everyone was gone.
Except Stern.
No, Stern was gone.
Stern was gone too?
Stern was gone. So there was a Stern pinball machine from the 80s.
Yeah.
And he worked for Harry Williams back in the day. That Stern did. And then his son got involved, Gary, and they somehow bought like Data East.
Yeah.
They got involved with Data East, or he worked for Data East. And then Data East bought Sega.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sega basically went out of business. And then Gary, I guess, somewhere around 2001, they made a pinball machine, Striker Extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And it was made using Sega boards, Sega White Star CPU boards. And they made a gambling theme game. And it took them about 3 or 4 games. They made an Austin Powers. And I think Terminator 3 was their next game. And it was really their first good game with deeper rules.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came out with Family Guy. Wow. Look at these rules. To finish Family Guy, it was the first game, that or Lord of the Rings from Stern, early Stern. Those games take an hour and a half to finish to get to the wizard mode. And I had several hundred attempts at both. Family Guy, I eventually had to add extra balls to the game so I could get to it. I still had to earn the extra balls, but yeah.
Right.
And these rules for these games now are just incredible. This Godzilla pinball machine back here behind me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would probably take you 2.5 hours to get through that game. Me, personally. The guy who designed the game could probably do it in an hour and 15 minutes because he knows everything in and out. But there's so many little secret tricks, and it's really amazing. When you're buying a pinball machine for $10,000, you're getting a novel. When you buy a pinball machine from the 70s, you're buying a comic book. They're fun to play. They're a hoot, but it's a comic book. It's not the novel you're spending $10,000 on. And you talked about prices going down. Good games are always going to be worth money.
Yeah, right.
Are all my games good? Well, sadly, they're not. You get a Godzilla, great game. Venom, good title. I like the game. I think it's a good shooter, but it hasn't received a lot of love. The new X-Men pinball machine, it's got too much stuff on it. Hard shooter. A lot of the shots will go halfway up ramps and comes back. It's just not super balanced. Maybe they can fix that with code. A for effort. The guy that designed this game also did the Foo Fighter pinball machine, and that's a hoot. That's a great game. So yeah, rules are what attract me to the game. I'm not so. You can have a bad theme and bad artwork, but if you got good rules, I'm in.
See now, I play a pinball machine, and I'm just playing for points, playing for score, but not necessarily just trying to, I guess, do the unlocking of shots or whatever, or unlock modes as the game progresses. I know Terminator 2, you just hit the ramps until you complete both sides 5 times to get payback time activated, and multi-ball. And
I think what a lot of people don't realize, and I just figured this out about a year ago, is the key to pinball is learning when not to flip. It's all about control. Because you're going to play, if you play pinball a lot, you're going to see patterns, just like you do in a video game. You're going to see that ball going from one side of the play field out. You're going to see it hit off the slingshot the same way 1,000,000 times. So it's really all about control. That ball's coming to your flipper, you don't have to flip because it could just bounce off, go to the other flipper, you hold it up. Now you can take a breather. You can make the shot. Grab the ball. It's a very monotonous game, but if you want to play professionally and you want to get high scores and you want to go to wizard modes, that's what you got to do. Do I do that? Do I do that? No, I come here and I'm just freewheeling it and having a good time. But I have learned if you're going to play competitive pinball, Gotta slow it down.
Of course, if you're on the machine for like 2 hours.
Well, you get to rest between balls. You know, there's a ball 1, a ball 2, a ball 3, and a few extra.
Well, yes, but you're doing a tournament.
Well,
the other player has to wait for
yes.
you to finish. And he's sitting there for 2 hours, like ripping my hair out. I was like, I need to do something else. I can't wait for you to finish.
Well,
it's like,
imagine sitting here watching a young champion get 1 billion points on a Munsters. That's never been done before here. I mean, he just put it to just put it
I know
down.
there's been some machines where the scores are crossed the billion mark, but I also think there was like some way to get 1 billion points in all at once as a shot or a reward for doing something in the game.
What Stern's been doing is they've been lowering the scores on the pinball machines, what you can get. So there's been a trend. In the 70s, you got 10 points, 100 points, maybe 1,000 points. In the 80s, you got hundreds of thousands of points. And then in the 90s, you got millions of points. And then in 2005, you got billions of points. And finally, about 5 years ago, they're like, what are we doing? It's silly. Let's just go back to tens of thousands, 100,000s, and a few millions here or there. But it can vary from a game to game. So, you know, comparing a billion score from one game to another never works out.
Well, I do remember that there was a few video games where the scores were like running into the next level up from trillion. I think it's quadrillions.
Yeah.
There were like quadrillion point scores, but it was like a shoot 'em up. Maybe Dodonpachi. It's one of those.
Well, you remember, you're old enough to remember going to an airport here in any town that you're in, and every airport had an arcade.
Yes. Well, so did the mall. So did it was always everywhere.
It was always a joy to go to the airport, though, because there was nobody there, no kids running around, what have you. You pretty much had your run of the place, and they always had a good selection of Lambert Field in St. Louis. Probably had 40 video games and 15 pinball machines.
I didn't get to see it I didn't go to Lambert Field to an arcade there because I'm in Central Illinois.
Right.
But I lived in a smaller city. My neighbor had an arcade. So I was going there quite frequently. He had pinballs. He had arcade games. Catch up on these comments here. I do know what he's talking about. This is in California. They had 1,100 machines, and I believe they were all auctioned off because they couldn't store it anymore. Can't remember the town, but I do know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I remember that Bugs Bunny. Yeah, the 50 million bonus shot. It was like the first time. Yeah, I believe so. Terrible game, but
I had it in my college dorm. I don't know how we got it, but we got it. We had a few arcade games and pinballs in our college dorm. So
lucky you, right?
Yeah, but some people broke into them too. So bit of an issue there. Lambert Field, no relations. That is Scott Lambert joining us from Underground Retrocade in West Dundee, Illinois. I was there Thanksgiving Day weekend, and while pinball was not a part of the tournament that I was in, they have a pinball room and some modern day pinballs in recent Stearns anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
So, kind of touched on it. The number of pinball manufacturers drilled down to like one or nothing by about year 2000.
Yeah, then you had Stern.
Pinball popularity today versus the past. As time progressed, I really got into gaming around when Space Invaders came out. Yes, pinball was there back in the day, and I did play my share of pinball back then. As time went on, though, I guess pinballs kind of got pushed out. Looks like somebody's buzzing you. A bug. Pinballs kind of got pushed out of the arcades, or at least it shrank. Some arcades don't even have any pinballs.
Yeah, they just became too much to maintain. I mean, when the video game came out and a guy could buy a pac-man machine, plug it into the wall, never touch it, and the only reason he had to come back to it because it was broke because it wouldn't take any more quarters,
or the board failed.
Well, no, I mean, I'm talking about, after 3 days. I mean, when Pac-Man came out, or, all those games, I mean, those games just filled up full of quarters. Those guys were making money hand over fist. The vendors are like, I don't have to go out on a service call, So, I mean, video games just kill pinball machines.
Yeah.
However, video games got so good, they killed the video game industry. I mean, MAME came out, 60-in-1 boards. I mean, I love video games. But I was guilty of buying a MAME machine from somebody, back in the day with 10,000 games on it. And I tell you, it was one of the best investments I ever made.
That's interesting that you believe MAME did damage to the arcade scene?
No, I think video games in general did damage to themselves just being better. I mean, why would I'm going to sit on my couch and play Left 4 Dead or Call of Duty with my 4 buddies. Then, they just got better and better. And I honestly stopped playing video games when fighting games came out. When all the fighting games come out and it became 6 buttons and all the cool stuff was already done, I just lost interest.
Now, the funny thing, that's another thing. Fighting games are credited with saving the arcades because they got people in the building playing games because they were a draw.
Yeah, I could see that. But for me, Rampart was fun, going around, taking buildings, eating people, having fire shooting out of your mouth. The fighting games just didn't do it for me. So, that's my own personal opinion. But pinball, as you would speak now, it's bigger than it's ever been. I mean, back in the day, you'd buy a pinball machine for $4,000, vend it for 3 years, make your money back, throw it out back and burn it, and buy another pinball machine.
Take it out back and burn it.
Oh, they were burning them. Yeah, the old EM, they were just burning them.
And they were fully working when they were doing it.
Oh, yeah, most likely. I mean, the old electromechanical machines, if they were running, they were just running. And as long as you played them, they kept running and running. I mean, if it ain't making money and the cigarette machine is,
and they couldn't even think of selling them.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff was lost, just like the video games. When these vendors get bought out, I mean, you go out there with a sledgehammer and bust them up. And I one time went to a skating rink here in town, and they had a bunch of video games. And as they broke, they put them in storage in these 2 large tractor trailers behind there. And the guy approached me in about 2004 or 5 to go over there and look in these. And I opened it up, and there it was. Every great video game I wanted.
And you got him for not very much money. You got him. He was willing to sell them to you cheap.
He was.
Right?
But as I went in and I put my 2-wheeler underneath the first game, an Asteroids, I pulled back on the cabinet, and it completely fell apart. And the monitor fell on my foot. And every game, there was probably 30 video games. 25 of them were waterlogged. And there was a game in there called Shark Attack. It was like a very rare video game.
Extremely rare, yes.
And I ended up not saving. I got to save the cabinet, but I saved the board set. And it was the most valuable thing that I got out of that haul, which was cool for me to preserve something like that. We got a couple games fixed out of it, but I mean, games just go into storage. They just rot from decay. And I can't tell you how many moldy games I've bought. And over the years, buying warehouse games and buying moldy games, I have an acute sense of mold now. If a game is moldy, I can get about 3 feet from it, and my face will turn red and start to burn. So I can pick out a moldy game like that now. It's actually like a blessing.
I wish I could get a few of these.
You know what?
I've wanted to be on. I wanted to tag along on somebody's warehouse raid.
Oh yeah. There's
Be
plenty.
the photographer or the videographer and document it because I'm jealous.
You know what? I mean, a lot of people don't realize this. If you want some video games, the simplest thing to do is buy a I Buy Arcade video game bumper sticker. Put your phone number on there. Just put I Buy Arcade games. I buy pinball machines. I've had so many people come up to me in a Schnucks parking lot, in a hockey game. I got a pinball in my basement. I got an old video game in my basement. A bumper sticker. You can make one yourself for probably $5 and stick it on your truck. There are so many games still laying around in people's basements. All you need is a two-wheeler and a friend and probably $100. And if you can't fix it, move it along. Somebody could use those boards. Somebody could use that cabinet. Somebody could use that marquee.
How many people? Good grief, if everybody does that now. Because after that.
Well, it's just, I mean, the more the merrier. Again, if there's a little bit of money in it, a little incentive, pinball machines for me has always been about the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them is great, but the hunt's better. Getting a call, hour and a half away, barn, you and your buddy hop in a truck at 9 a.m. and head out and open up those barn doors and get that game and drag it out and probably put way more money into it than it's worth. But it's the hunt. It's all about finding it. Buying a new Stern is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. Spend $10,000 if thing shows up, you get to have a hoot. But if you walked around my collection, I at least have 40, 45, 50 games I could tell you a nice story about. A barn find, a basement find.
Yeah, and I wish I could get a barn finder too, but yes, it does make for great stories. Excellent. I've had a few guests on this podcast recently that would tell me about their raids, and I want to join them. I want to be a part of it. When Galloping Ghost does one of their warehouse raids, it's like,
well, I can tell you a story.
Call me. I want to come.
I can tell you a story that's pretty crazy if you got time.
Oh, I got plenty of time.
So I got a guy that called me, and he had 50 pinball machines to sell. And he told me they were Gottlieb, Data East. They were B and C titles, not the best titles. But he told me what he wanted per game, and it was about $50,000. So I gathered up my cash, which is the only way he would do it, went over there, got in the basement, and I could just see right away that there was some broken plastics on the machine. There was a little bit of wear. I told the guy, there's no way these are as nice as you say they are. I said, I'm not going to waste my time dragging these out of your basement. I said, I'm out of here. Well, his friend ended up calling me back in and agreed that the games weren't as he had said they were. So we agreed on, less money.
Okay.
So we started dragging these games out. It was 4th of July. I got 7 guys together. We dragged all his machines out of this guy's basement, took them to CP Pinball, my old location. And the last 2 games was a home use only Addams Family, which I told him I could sell for about $10,000 if he'd let me take.
Very popular game.
Yeah, very. And this fellow was sick. He wasn't doing well. He was getting ready to go to a retirement village, I think. And he had another game called Going Nuts. It was a prototype game made by Gottlieb. There was only 13 made, only I think 9 known to exist. And he told me that game is $5,000 if you're going to sell it, or $500 if you're going to put it in the arcade. So of course I told him $500, and we put it in the arcade and had this really crazy Going Nuts sample prototype pinball machine. I sold the Addams Family. We got all these games down there, fixed them all up. Some of them are still in my collection today. Game Show, Police Force, Mousing Around. Most of Gottlieb stuff I don't collect, so we moved it on. Well, sadly, about 6 months later, I read the obituaries that this guy had passed away. And I had started to hear some stories about this fella, that he was actually a collector from Boston, and he had owned 250 pinball machines. And before he had moved to St. Louis, he had sold off the 200 machines. And Turns out he was a computer programmer back in the day, retired, and he had amassed all this money. I didn't know he was rich. He was super, super rich.
Right.
Actually, the retirement home he went into was a retirement home that he built and hired his own doctors and nurses. But it turns out he was a computer programmer, and he had written a program called the shopping cart. You know, when you go on the internet and you put something in the cart, it's called a shopping cart. He wrote that program, and he was getting like 0.001 cents for everything sold on the internet. So we're talking billions of dollars.
Jeez.
Crazy. So after he passed away, the Going Nuts had run its course. Somebody had posted on one of the news group, "What's your rarest games?" I just put that it was this Going Nuts game, and a collector from New York offered me $25,000 for it.
Yeah.
Sadly, the guy had passed away. I was looking to expand my arcade. So I traded that for 5, I basically sold it, and I got 5 new Sterns, which include like Walking Dead, Tron, Iron Man, and a couple other games from that genre. But it was a great connection. It was an odd phone call. He had been to my arcade one time before, and that's how he had called me on it. So,
let me go to this. What is your most favorite pinballs?
I get asked that all the time. I'm the Hugh Hefner of pinballs. I can have a blonde, a brunette, or a redhead, so I don't really have a favorite. The newest game is always my favorite. If you remember the basement video, you saw the Rush posters.
Right.
Me and my brother and some friends of ours playing a Rush tribute band. I play bass guitar, so I do lean towards the Rush pinball machine from Stern back here. But it really depends on what type of mood I'm in. I mean, if I got 20 minutes to play a game, I'm not going to play a Rush or a Godzilla or Lord of the Rings or a Family Guy. I don't have an hour and a half to kill. It's no fun for me to get into a game and have to quit. So fast games are like Mandalorian, Venom is very quick. Some of the older 80s games can be rather quick. But again, I don't get a lot of time to play pinball. Having the regular job, working here on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights and cleaning the bathrooms and taking out trash, I just don't get to play as much pinball as I used to. So that's why I play competitively. It's just so I kind of force myself to play. I mean, just like you, when you go once you're playing, you got to stay competitive, keeps you up.
Yeah, and I'd like to play a lot more. But time constraints. Demands on the time, and I want more gaming accolades, championship belts, trophies, tournament victories. Galloping Ghost, I've held 4 different titles, including Gamer of the Year. The 1991 Nintendo Campus Challenge Championship, which was my first major gaming achievement. I know there's a championship belt floating around. That's a pinball title that Murphy's on 21 has.
Yeah.
The problem is I have to commute like 130 miles down to Murphy's on 21 to even think about competing for that belt on a weeknight.
Yeah. Well, that belt, the people who hold the belt it's different tasks each time. Sometimes it's whoever gets the highest score while holding a beer. Sometimes the belt winner is whoever played best with one hand. Sometimes the belt winner
is belt.
Yeah. Sometimes it's whoever had the worst score that night gets the belt. So it's
worst score.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that belt is not merit based on high score. So it's not a belt I think you should be concerned about.
A belt is a belt is a belt is a belt. If I were to win that belt, I would be going up to Galloping Ghost Arcade, staying next to Doc Mack, and holding that belt in the air and say, I've won a title outside of this arcade. Because all the title belts I've won are just at Galloping Ghost. including the Goblin Ghost Pinball Expo title.
Are you a Robotron fan?
I can play Robotron, yes.
Yeah. What do you think your high is?
Not even close to being enough.
350, 400, higher? You know
I
what?
don't know if it's 350 or 400, maybe about a couple 100,000
All right.
at best.
All right. Well, you're not that good then.
No, well, if there was a tournament and there was a high score tournament on the line, I would grind try to. Yes,
there you go.
I would get in there, grind, see how high I can push the score. Because, the last tournament I did, well, it wasn't Robotron. They had bubbles in the tournament.
Yeah.
They had Junior Pac-Man Turbo. They also had Time Pilot, Tempest, and Donkey Kong Jr. I was second overall. Well, I only got one score that was higher than the others. I took Donkey Kong Jr. of the 5 games, but the score is only for determining rank. So if you got the top score, you got all the points. If you're like second or third, you got so many points away from ranking points down for first place. Then all those scores are added up, and then you get a champion. So it's like 4 points away.
Right.
Maybe next year. T20 also operates on the same principle, is ranking points. How many points can you get? And there's like 20 different games.
So do you practice with MAMES?
If I can. But however, T20, you don't know what the games are going to be until you walk through the doors.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That is cool.
So I saw your message.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with your message as well. So I think it's a good time. We're going to take a break. I got this little graphic saying be right back. So let's say, how much time do you need?
Just 2.
2 minutes?
You got it.
All right. I can play some commercials too while we're at it.
All right.
All right. We'll see you in a few minutes. All right. So we both need a break. So in the meantime, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and we'll continue on with Chuck Sanderson. Stay tuned. All right, we are back. You say you have 15 minutes left, so let's rapid fire the questions. Yeah, I kind of intended to only go 2 hours tops with the program, or go up to 10 o'clock, but you gotta go sooner. So
Yeah, sorry about that. And my my battery's not lasting here. I'm old with old equipment.
hopefully the battery lasts for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's fire this out. I'll just pinball skills. The average player versus the pro. Now you touched upon this, that the pros are going to play a pinball for like 2 hours straight in one game. Why do players like me keep having balls drained down the middle or the sides, but you guys can keep it going for so long?
Moves. That's how we do it. I mean, basically, pinball is about control. So while you're spending countless time shooting at one shot, we've already made that shot. I mean, a pinball machine only has about 6 to 8 shots.
Mm-hmm.
I like to consider the flipper as a 1-inch measurement, 1 inch. Although the flipper is 3 inches, I consider it 1 inch. And when I want to shoot a ball, I shoot it at the 1/4 inch mark, the 3/8 mark, the half mark, the 5/8 mark, the 3/4 mark, the 7/8 mark, the 15/16 mark. And all those, a 15/16 mark will get you a side hole. The 7/8 mark will get you the outer loop. The 3/4 shot will make the ramp. The 5/8 shot will make the scoop on the other side of the ramp, and vice versa. So you really have to know what you're shooting for. I mean, rules are the most important. If you know how to play the game, every pinball machine tells a set of rules or a story.
Mm-hmm.
You have to shoot A, B, and C. And once you shoot those 3 shots, whatever they may be, they're lit on the playfield. That will get you to D. And then if you can hit that D shot a few times, it'll open up another page of the book, and you'll go to E, F, G. And your hope is to get to Z, the end, which is the wizard mode, or the culmination of everything. So knowing what shot to hit while the ball is coming to your flippers is very important. You have to know the next shot. If the shot is on the right and the ball is coming to your left flipper, that's great. Hold the flipper up and catch the ball. If it's coming to your right flipper, if it's coming fast enough, don't flip it. Let it bounce off the flipper and generally go over slowly to your other flipper and get control.
Assuming that doesn't go down the middle.
So if it doesn't
bounce into the middle.
Well, there is a 1-2 mechanism that can stop a lot of those balls from going straight down the middle. Mm-hmm. That ball may be coming straight down, but it's usually, the tables are not always flat. They're right one way or the other. So if you can give a 1-2 slap on those flippers or 1-2 backwards, you can get a lot of balls to careen off the end of the flipper, and the other flipper will kick it just back onto the playfield. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of practicing backwards, forward. Mm-hmm. It looks silly on camera, especially look like a robot.
Right.
But if you just do that when you're playing, I save a ton of balls with 1-2 moves. I mean, people will just, oh my gosh, I can't believe he made that save. And you need to know how to nudge the pinball machine. A forward nudge is not a good approach, which is what 99% of people do. Yeah. It's usually out of anger. Push the pinball machine. All you do is forcing the ball faster down the hole.
Right.
It's a lot of shimmying, and it's a lot of just seeing the repeat motion. You've seen that ball floating around. Here it is. Where's it going? It's going out the out hole. You already see it going out the out hole. You already know where it's going. Move the pinball machine. Move the pinball machine a little bit. Get that ball to hit that little bumper right when you move it over and get it back into play. So, again, all about control and rules.
And try not to tilt it.
Correct. I mean, walk up to the pinball machine, give it a good shake, see if you can tilt it. Most professional championships will allow you to play the game for 30 seconds before you actually go to your match. Mm-hmm. So you walk up, you flip it, you do a couple slap saves, you kind of push the pinball machine around, see where your tilt's at, then let the second player play his game. His 30 seconds of testing.
Yeah, just a warm-up.
You got it.
Yeah. So you are collecting a number of pinball, or you have collected a number of pinballs over time. Any pinballs you're after
No,
that you'd like to have on the arcade floor, or
no,
is there a grail that you're
sadly, no.
seeking out? No grails.
I've gotten them all. Everything I
You
wanted.
got them all. What is the grail in your collection right now? The
Grail.
grail.
Wow. I don't really have a grail. I mean, something that you couldn't replace would be like Indiana Jones or a Twilight Zone. Those games are just irreplaceable, never to be made again. Now, I've said that before, and somebody bought the rights to the Williams pinball machines, Planetary Pinball, and they had an old factory in Chicago called Chicago Coin. They remade 3 great games.
Yes.
Medieval Madness, Attack from Mars, or actually 4.
Monster Bash.
Monster Bash, yeah.
And then
I did a hell of a job.
The latest one is Funhouse.
Yeah, I think that was that done by Chicago Coin?
I don't know, but the remake has been created. Yes.
Yeah, no, that was up at the expo too. That was an incredible version. So, yeah, Grail games. I mean, I've touched, fixed, owned over 1,000 pinball machines. So it's really just become second nature for me. I don't want for anything. I just, I like to have them around. They're a lot of fun to play. I like to spice it up a little bit.
Retrocade is asking, how conservative or generous are your tilt bobs set?
Mine are pretty generous because I like to play. They're my games. I didn't spend all this money so I could just sit here and tilt, but they get readjusted. We just had this big tournament for 124 players. And a lot of the tilts were set up because these professionals will come in and they'll just take advantage of it. They're already the best control guys on the planet, and you give them a really good nudge game with a tilt that's not sensitive. They're gonna go at it.
How did you find and this is we kind of just went out of order on the topic list. I mean, I wrote stuff down. We're not going to get to all of it, obviously. How did you find Wood River, the location you're at? How did you find this place to move to?
Well, I have a store here. I have a tool and equipment store I've owned for the last 30 years. And I had a woodworker who had this building, and his business wasn't going so well. He had moved into an old post office, and it was probably about time for him to retire. So he ended up selling me the building. I got a pretty good deal on it, about $80,000. I needed a place to put my pinball machines. I had about 24 at home and another 10 stored away somewhere, and it just seemed senseless to have games folded up. So I thought this would be a great place. A bunch of my friends can meet. We can get down there, all play together, work on games together. Maybe I can open up a night a week. So that's how it started. And then I got opened up, and we started to get people in, and one building became 2, and it became 3. And sadly, a lot of the people that were into pinball with me early were younger or my age, but they had kids, had families, and they just drifted away from pinball. I still talk to them to this day, and they still have 1 or 2 games, but they're not as, they didn't get into it as widely as I did.
So this is the one thing I should get into because we only got about 8 minutes left. The tournament scene. So talk about this. What do you call it? The FIPA or something?
IFPA, International Flipper Pinball Association. Yeah.
So somebody like me, who's kind of the casual player, but kind of wants to kind of get involved, or at least be a participant, not necessarily win a championship, but be a participant.
Yeah.
How do I get in?
Just simply go to their website. You can type in you can look for tournaments in your area. You may find a pizza place, a bar, a bowling alley, an arcade that's hosting an IFPA certified event. You just show up, give them your 10 or 20 bucks or whatever their entry fee is. If you've never played before, just tell them I've never played before. When they insert your name into the database for the final results, if you finish last and you get 0.01 points, you will officially be given an IFPA number, and you would be part of the probably 80,000 members they have. I'm not sure what the number's up to. My player number is 262. And I know there are probably 80,000 players, so I got on real early. I've really only been playing competitively for about the last 3 years. I played competitively before that, but I had no idea what I was doing.
I know the only pinball tournaments I've been playing, Galloping Ghost would have the Pinball Frenzies a couple of years ago, where I guess you'd have a couple of hours to play. They would draw a match.
Yeah.
You'd be in line, obviously, and then you play, and then the winner gets a point, the loser loses a point, and then the top.
Yeah, lots of, you can do all kinds of tournaments. You do head-to-head. You can do 4-player pairings. You can do the Flipper Frenzy, where you play another opponent, and then whoever loses goes in the line. Whoever wins gets the next opponent. So you're just nonstop pinball. They have golf tournaments where you get golf scores. They'll give you certain achievements to hit. Light the special in 3 balls, and that will give you a par 3. Or, you can get some achievements done in 1 ball. Get a score of 1 million. That's a hole in one. So lots of different ways to play a tournament.
I know Midwest Gaming Classic every year they have a pin golf tournament.
Yeah.
On preview night, which would be Friday before the big stuff goes down. Somehow, a couple of years ago, I finished 4th.
Awesome.
Most of the time, I just can't complete the challenge, and it's I lose all 3 balls, and then it's I had to write a 4 down every time.
I mean, with the advent of YouTube and all the great players that are showing videos, they'll show you how to play all these games. Some only take 10 minutes to watch. Some take an hour to watch. While you're at a tournament, just don't sit back and drink beer and, watch the other players play. Don't get too close. But, you can really learn a lot from another player, just seeing what they do and just imitate it. It's not rocket science, and I've made it way more difficult than it should have been for the last few years. We had our league finals last night, and after playing some of the top players in the world last weekend, I saw a lot more ease and control of the ball. So last night I made it a point for ease and control, and I ended up winning my league. Got my first place in my A division. And you would think that, hey, I live here, so I should have an advantage, but I really don't. The advantage is now control. Slow the game down.
Now Winter League is about to start at Atomic Pinball.
Yeah, I think our pre-play is January 8th, if that's a Wednesday, and then we'll do 2 weeks of pre-plays. You kind of play some of the games, write your scores down in case you miss a week or two. You're not out cold.
Mm-hmm.
And then we play for 10 weeks, and then we have the finals. The cost is $120 for the whole 10-week league, which is $12 a night for. You can come here at 5 and play. We start at 7. We're usually done by 8:30, and you can stay till 10. We had 56 players in this last league.
So for a new contender, basically, is there anything they need to,
No,
anything to expect?
No, basically, you come in the league, we'll show you all the ropes. You will not meet a finer bunch of people than pinball people. They are just the nicest people. They are the most accommodating. It just rubs off on one another. So if you show up and you don't know what you're doing, we'll take care of it. And the great thing is every skill level is welcome. So we'll play for 5 weeks, kind of see where you're at, and then we'll kind of put you into a division. So this last time we had an A, B, C, and D division. If we get 75 players, we'll have an F division. If we have 100 players, we'll have a K division. So all skill levels welcome. We have some players that just started playing 3 years ago that have gotten to be rather good players. They're watching, they're paying attention, and they really have a blast with it. Some people just play to play, and that's okay too. It's the camaraderie of it.
So yeah, another question. What are your top 3 favorite pinballs, and what are your top 3 most frustrating pinballs? I've seen so many lists online.
Yeah, I like the Flow of Rush. I think it's really good. All the Sterns, that's what I'm really drawn to. I mean, they've just done a great job of engineering. The code sets, rule sets are really cool. The television screens now and back show all kinds of videos, and it really keeps you informed about the game. The Insider Connect is cool. Games that frustrate me the most are probably just older, slower games. You know, the 80s Sterns, the 80s Bally's. I don't play those games that often. They're a little bit slower and they require more control. And you don't have the same flipper power on an 80s pinball machine that you have on a 2000s pinball machine. So flippers act differently. You can't get the 1-2 saves. They don't work that way. Your nudge game has to be a lot better, which mine isn't.
And what are your feelings about the simulated pinballs? You did have one of those virtual pinball machines that basically is in the cabinet of the pinball.
I'm not a fan. Yeah, not a fan. So they make some homebrew stuff that's really cool. I mean, they have probably 300 Star Wars machines. You know, somebody will make a pinball.
300? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of. Well, I mean, guys can make their own pinball machine. So, you know, you can shoot it in Chewbacca's mouth, or you're going to have a Death Star flying across the playfield, or you know, the virtual pinball is really fun, but I just don't think it's ever gotten close enough. And I haven't paid any attention to it in the last 3 to 5 years, to be quite honest. When I see them, I just don't play them. I have 125 real games to play.
Yeah.
I have heard that some of the professional players buy them so they can kind of learn the rule sets on the games. Gives them have to go out there and have every game, and that I get.
Yeah.
But most of the pros, they can learn these games and any old game in about a minute. Drop the targets, hit the spinner, hit the spinner, hit the spinner. I mean, that's what an old game will get you. Those are the rule sets. Something made last year, totally different.
All right. Well, we're at 9:30, and you needed to depart. Any final comments? Anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Thanks a lot for having me on. It's actually my first pinball arcade video game podcast. So, if that's what you call this,
it is a podcast.
Yeah. So you see our hours up there if you're ever in our area. We're about 20 minutes outside of St. Louis, Missouri.
Wood River, Illinois, on Whitelaw Drive, I believe.
Got lots of parking, pretty nice, safe area. Downtown Wood River used to be the mecca of the shopping area in our area, but like most places, small towns, they've become rather depressed and old. We were lucky enough to get this building and get a good deal on it so we could put some money into it. So, I mean, it's a really state-of-the-art facility.
Although, what funny thing is, everything gravitated towards malls, and then everybody's like, we don't want malls. We want strip malls or just individual shops where we can just go in, get what we want, and get out rapidly. And kind of seems like, maybe the downtowns are resurging, or maybe it's just the downtown moved to the outskirts. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only way our downtown's going to make it is if we can get some more restaurants down here, some bars, some type of nightlife activity. There's no reason to have a shop down here. I mean, you can buy everything you want online. I mean, we do have a shoe store down here, but as far as they're bringing a scarf shop or a woman's dress shop, I mean, they just can't make the money that they used to make. There's just too much competition. So,
although you got Fast Eddie's not too far away from you.
Yeah, we have Fast Eddie's, and we have a place that opened up next door to them. About a mile down the road called Game Over.
Yeah, I haven't been over there yet. I gotta look at that.
Yeah, next time you're down, you should take a look at it. I mean, I think he bought a bunch of bulk video games from Japanese or Chinese company, and a lot of the driving games and the shooting games are all in an Oriental language. But they play fine, and it's part of their free arcade, and then they have a pay arcade on the other side. Nice little spot. I mean, if you're just into video games, I think they have 3 pinball machines.
If they got any rarities, I gotta find them. I gotta see if they got anything rare.
Yeah,
really rare.
Yeah, I mean, it might be rare because you haven't seen one here from Japan in the last 20 years.
No, yeah.
I mean,
I usually find some.
Yeah, I always see those Facebook ads where I can buy video games from Becky Who. They have a container of video games they're looking to dump here in the States, and I just don't do ticket redemption, so I had no reason to answer those ads. But no, it's really cool. I'm glad you invited me on. I will make sure that we get you to 100 likes or join in your page on Facebook.
Our followers, yeah.
Yeah, follow you, and we'll bump that up, and we can do this again in a few months. I'd like to hear you give me some good news from your trip to Galloping Ghost.
They do have a pinball section, and they have a few 1-on-1s.
Well, every time I go, last time I went, the chicken shift was busted.
It's working now.
Yeah, I love me some chicken shift, and I play a game on my MAME I found. It was called Toffee. Are you familiar with Toffee? Toffy. It's a little caveman.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, a little caveman. He goes around. He breaks up blocks. Little spiders come after him. I'll look into it and tell you the manufacturer next time. Really fun game that I've had fun playing over the last few years.
I know GGA does not have it.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
No, I know they don't have it either. Well, listen, thanks again. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and hope to see you at Atomic soon.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Chuck, thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. That was Chuck Sanderson of Atomic Pinball, and they are open tomorrow, starting at 5 o'clock, and they are open at 12 p.m. to 11 o'clock on Saturday, and you can buy an hour pass or you can buy an all-day pass if you desire. But before we get out of here, a couple of things I needed to, a couple of announcements on here. Speaking of Galloping Ghosts, they're going to have a Pong tournament. Yes, a Pong tournament on their two-player Galloping Ghost Pong. So this will be kind of interesting. See who comes out for this particular tournament. And it'll be the 29th, which will be this Sunday. Not this Sunday. A Sunday after Christmas, in between, before New Year's. Also, Mortal Kombat. Yes, exactly. Chuck is a super great and good guy. Mortal Kombat. As you can see, they're playing pinball right now. Let's throw this. Since he's got it up here, let's just throw this back up on the screen here. Oops. Oh, that's not it. All right, never mind on that. I think that was the end of my other video. But Mortal Kombat, January 12th, 3 o'clock, the original. Yeah, I'm going to have to practice for this and see how well I can, see if I can try to win that Bloody Wars Tournament Championship belt. Next week, I do not have anybody lined up yet. The couple of folks that I've asked were not available. Doc Beck has pitched Jeremiah Smith to appear on the podcast. So once I get into communications with him, we can just set the time or set the date and time for him to appear. But by the way, it says 9 and 10. No, it's going to be 8 o'clock. But yes, so I will be rating the channel. Now, we're at the end of the podcast for tonight. So who am I going to raid? Let's get back on Twitch. Let's see who's streaming tonight. Who's streaming tonight that I usually follow? Lord BBH. I've rated him a few times. Well, looks like this. Okay, so we're going to take it from one podcast to another. We're going to go to the Nintendo Dads podcast. So until next time, I am the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter. Thank you for tuning in to the Crimeycade this week, and I hope to see you around the arcade soon. Have a good night, everybody.